USA podcast. This is Ron Costa, and today we're going mobile. We are broadcasting from New York City. New York. City's so great they had to name it twice, as they say. And I'm really excited about this podcast, guys, because we've been talking about a lot of crowdfunding, real estate opportunity zones, and today we're going to really kind of bring that more towards the blockchain and tokenization world, where I'm going to break some news as well. And to do that, let's enter into the podcast. Vicky Hutchmala from the QOZ Marketplace. Vicky, how are you today?
I'm excellent today, Ron, and I am so excited because we have a guest today that his company and what he's doing is literally going to change the world. I can't wait to get started.
Yeah, so without any ado, let's introduce Brian Collins from Horizon Globex. Brian, you on the line? How are you doing today?
Hi, Ron. I'm very well, thank you. Hi, Vicky. Pleasure to have you.
Okay. And folks, we've gone international with this one because Brian's actually on the podcast direct from Switzerland, I believe, right?
That's correct. You might tell from the accent it's not Swiss, it's Irish, but I live in Switzerland around here.
Oh, man. Well, I'll tell you what.
True Renaissance man, Brian.
Yeah, you got to love the weather, and you got to love a lot of skiing there, right? I'm sure you're doing that.
That's it, exactly. Great day to see.
So let's get right into this whole thing, Brian. Let's talk about what you guys are doing over at Horizon Globex. We did a podcast a while back with Mark Alenowitz, and now you're really kind of bringing this into high gear. So there's a lot of news coming out of your company, and let's just talk about, in general. You guys are kind of have a platform right now that's doing tokenization. How did you get started with this whole thing?
Sure. Well, Ron, we kind of started this whole thing from a perspective of secondary liquidity in the space, because people were always talking about initial coin offerings and STOs and so on, which are all just the initial funding, and it's really trying to get ordinary American citizens in particular with our affiliated broker-dealer into this space in a legitimate fashion and not go on these crazy pump and dump exchanges globally and so on. So we wanted to really bring compliance into the secondary market, and to do that we really took a look at the competitive landscape. And as a group of nerds, effectively scientists with Wall Street experience, we really tackled the fact that you need to start first from a compliance point of view, and once you've got the compliance addressed, then you bring in the tokenization and the fundraising for capital formation. Once you do all of that correctly, secondary trading, legitimate secondary trading becomes the holy grail for everybody, I believe, in this industry.
What do you mean by compliance? What will our listeners get from how your platform is compliant?
Well, for us, fundamentally under SEC regulation, the federal securities laws in the States, you have certain rules and regulations to protect ordinary investors. So you can't lie about your profits, you can't lie about the value of your company, and all these things, because they have consequences. So therefore, if you're cheating and lying, if you're a broker-dealer promoting it, or you're a CEO who's faking numbers and doing all these things, there is a rule of law. And that's phenomenal for all of us who like to invest in these innovation and innovative companies and their wonderful CEOs. So what we want to make sure of is that good people are in here. So on the compliance side, you have to have a little level of due diligence. So you can't just put out a white paper and say, invest in my company, give us $60 million and we'll do something for you. It doesn't work that way, and the SEC doesn't allow that. So what we want to make sure is that anybody participating or creating an offering in America actually follows the standard rules for regulation for offering. So the most popular, the most common regulation for ICOs, of course, is Regulation D, which is also the counterpart of Regulation S when there are foreigners. And then there's another one, Regulation A, part of the Jobs Act, but we don't really touch on Regulation A just yet because it's really in its infancy when it comes to tokenization. So we really provide the broker-dealer and the issuer, the CEO, and their lawyers and their accountant with a product set that makes it efficient, cost-effective, and allowing the securities regulation for them to raise money in the public market. That's changing everything. Rather than doing it piecemeal with one company doing one piece out of Luxembourg, another company out of Malta, and another company out of America, and so on, trying to patch all these things together, what we decided to do was really create a compliance platform with the help of our Wall Street partner banks to make sure that we're aligned and we can actually raise money from Americans. As you guys are probably aware, most of these ICOs don't allow American investors because they're simply afraid of the fact that the SEC will check on all their wild claims. So this really opens up, as you mentioned, Vicky, the whole space to a new level, a new generation, almost the millennial investors should be now in a much more comfortable position to invest in innovation, whether it's a New Jersey ice cream parlor want to expand their business, or whether it's a clothing company out of Utah. It doesn't really matter. As long as you know what you're getting into is legitimate, then I feel that our technology has served its purpose and actually delivered what we say we're going to do.
So you basically eliminated the fear and apprehension of anybody wanting to participate in tokens. Plus, you've given them a one-stop shop where they can come to you and you can take care of every aspect, and at the same time ensure that everything that's being done is secure, compliant, up to the SEC requirements and regulations, and is an easy transaction. That's outstanding.
Yeah, thanks for that, Vicky. That's really what we're talking about. And when we talk to CEOs and companies like yourself who are looking at this space, properly looking at this space, we feel as if our one-stop shop solution approach is really what people are after. Trying to pull in all these different very technical elements to this. The blockchain is not for the faint-hearted. The blockchain, in a programming point of view, from ethereum, which is the main securities issuance blockchain, on the public blockchain side of things, it's a complex place to be. We have 15, 16 staff in Ireland and England and Switzerland, and also staff in America that works completely exclusively on the Ethereum Solidity smart contract and the compliance of those smart contracts with securities regulation, including custody. So these are really important assets for us to have, because you really, yourself and Ron or any other CEO of other companies, you really don't want to go and learn a new programming language and try to understand the intricacies of the blockchain. You need experts like us to really productize that for you and then basically launch it for you with all the bells and whistles compliantly, along with broker dealers and attorneys, and even we are the first company in the United States to license a transfer agent using the blockchain. So we're really that compliant, and we do have all the professional parties engaged on a very cost-effective platform to allow fundraising to occur on the blockchain and indeed in a broader crowdfunding paradigm.
So you've used the SEC rules and regulations as the guidelines, so that regardless of whether you're in Switzerland or you're in America, the SEC guidelines will help your Horizon Globex be compliant, and doesn't matter where you live, it's going to work perfectly.
Yeah, that's what we recognize, certainly from my time in the States as well, is SEC and general American investment rules are the gold standard for the world. They just are. The SEC has enforcement, it has teeth. People know that if you lie, you get thrown in jail. And most of the world's regulators look to the American regulation, because small investments from companies, not just in mega IPOs, the Facebooks, the Ubers and so on, but investment or fundraising between 25 and $100 million, those investments are very common, very popular in American ethos, which is fantastic. And those investments are commonplace, and people invest in them and are secure in that investment. So what we're trying to do is to make sure that the rules that have governed American investment really since 1934, which are still in place and still protect all of us from how we invest and how much money we put to one side and whether or not the CEO is telling us the truth. Those rules are in play and they work really well. So we try to mirror that entire compliance platform, but we use technology for it. We speed it up, we lower its costs, we make it more predictable. So we believe we improve it, but we use technology aligned with regulation and not technology to bypass regulation. That's really quite critical, is that if you think you can skip having to verify that somebody is telling the truth, then you're in for a rather rocky ride, I would say, when that CEO goes and buys himself a Lamborghini and you get nothing out of it, which is not so hypothetical, by the way.
Phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, and of course, security is very important to all this, and a safe and secure transaction. And Brian, you did a demo on this for us last week, and I was really impressed with the onboarding process that you have between the KYC, know your customer, and the anti-money laundering. That's really impressive, and I think that's a major advantage as well of your system, because obviously people have to take care of that, and that's significant right there, because you still have to go through that. Every tokenization project has to have that, doesn't it?
Absolutely, Ron. Thanks for the feedback. But fundamentally, what we have is effectively a 90-second KYC onboarding process. It's not that intrusive for you as an investor, but it gathers sufficient information for the back office, whether it's the attorney from the issuer, whether it's a broker-dealer from the issuer who's reviewing this data. And we run it against FinCEN and OFAC, FBI Most Wanted, Interpol, and so on. It's really about the fact that you are who you say you are. You show us your ID, it's very fast. And then what we do is we verify that you're not Bernie Madoff, and we verify that you're not somebody on the blacklist that's not allowed to invest in this company. And we do that actually not to catch out an investor. We actually do that to protect the CEO of the issuing party, because ultimately it's the CEO who carries the can. You can't take money from criminals. You just can't. Because when that money comes into this investment, irrespective of whether it comes through escrow or a broker-dealer, it still arrives in the bank account of the issuer. So the CEO has taken money from a bad actor. So we must protect him. So that's what we're trying to do as well. So KYC is really not so intrusive, and you have some people on the blockchain space, I don't want to tell anybody anything about myself. Well, how are we supposed to know that you're not a bad person? And thereby put some CEO at risk. We can't do that with our CEO. We have to make sure that he and his business and all his employees are all protected for the long run. This isn't a game. If you raise $5 million or $50 million, you've got to put that money to work, and you are accountable. Similarly, you are also to be protected from bad actors trying to launder money. So we built the entire ecosystem. We had to build it ourselves because we have a skill set, which is great, but we had to build it because there wasn't one system that did the tokenization of a company's common stock and the KYC on behalf of the issuer for that common stock linked together in one place. You have to go and create an API to these third-party companies that do one piece of this and a little piece of that, and outsource the KYC to cheaper jurisdictions. All of these simple steps that improve other people's bottom line weaken the protection given to the American CEO. And that's not really what they're about.
You do it quickly and efficiently, too, which is another big advantage of this software platform that you guys have. You guys should do this for airports instead of TSA. Man, it took me forever to get through TSA to go to New York. We need your solution.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And the AML side is important, too. There are hundreds of lists globally that are managed and maintained overnight. They change here, there, and everywhere. And you have to manage those lists. And we can do that. We pull those lists down every night and we manage all these lists. So it's important that they're kept up to date, because just because yesterday somebody invested in our deal is a person who's not on the blacklist, and he appears on that blacklist in a week or two's time, well, we can still flag that. Our AML COP system will actually monitor your cap table and make sure nobody on our cap table is actually that actor, or indeed is flagged in due course.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly.
a unique feature of what we're doing.
Yeah, let's talk about one of the biggest problems investors have in terms of the liquidity of their investments. Illiquidity kills a lot of investors as far as moving forward on some of these deals. Now, your platform liquidity is somehow built into that. Is that correct? Can you explain how your tokenization platform handles the liquidity issue and makes these investments both viable and sellable at any point?
Yes, sure. Thanks, Randy. The main thing really is to understand that when you own the entire cycle, the investor exit is a sale of those securities at a profit because the company's CEO has done what he says he's going to do. Right? So this is fairly basic 101 trading. What we also have is when we tokenize your business in your common stock, We KYC the investors, we verify them against an AML sanction list, we custody them while there's a regulatory hold period. That's normal using a US transfer agent that's SEC registered. Now, once they're available for free trading, at this point, you have to release them to a stock market where the CEO will list that company for trading. There are no ERC20 stock markets in America at the moment, but there are plenty of unregulated ERC20, which is the Ethereum tokenization term. So plenty of those globally, but you as an American, you wouldn't trade there. In fact, me as an Irish or a Swiss-based resident, I wouldn't trade there either because they're unregulated, they're too dangerous. So we've created a technology called Open Order Book. An Open Order Book is actually a decentralized, which is an on-chain quote engine. So you can offer your securities for sale online using your phone. You can offer them for sale and somebody can buy those securities. What we need in the middle, of course, is we've created the technology to allow the investor exit. We need an operator or an exchange protocol. What we've just announced in Antigua with the Antigua government, with their Ministry for Finance and Corporate Governance, we're going to create such a liquidity environment for people to be able to withdraw money, real money, from a bank account when they sell their securities. Not withdraw Bitcoin, not withdraw Ether, withdraw money. So you've invested in the CEO at the beginning and you can exit with the CEO later. We're also working with a broker-dealer in America for an ATS, which is a small American-style marketplace, also known as, or referred to as an exchange, but they're in fact marketplaces. So there may be a possibility in the not-too-distant future for Americans to be able to do that through an American-registered ATS. So you can wire the money back out to your Chase Manhattan bank account after your investment period is up, whether that's a Regulation G 6-month or 12-month hold, or indeed you're in it for 1, 2, 3 years. And typically a Regulation D investment today in America has got a 5 to 7 year exit because it's very difficult for the CEO to list. But the NASDAQ listing requirements are fairly onerous and expensive and all those other things, whereas our system is really a one-stop shop. We tokenize you, we do the entire ecosystem and put you up on an exchange immediately after a regulatory hold period is finished. That's how powerful the system is. That's what the blockchain brings. That's really what the Ethereum blockchain in particular, a large public blockchain, which is really truthful in its decentralized nature because of consensus, that's really important for us to be able to offer legitimate liquidity. Our open order book technology does not allow wash trades, doesn't allow layering, spoofing, churning, iceberg orders, hidden orders. We don't allow any of those things. We're a legitimate order-driven marketplace. It's a phenomenal solution for people to get into companies, fund them, watch the CEO build and allow them, the CEO puts his news out on Twitter or he puts it out on his website, and then you get to have all this information going around. So if you think of it as something like the OTC markets that you have in the States with 10,000 securities on them, listed there, some liquid, some liquid, we would be fairly similar to that scenario where you can see a quote, you can see an open order book, which means it's on the Ethereum blockchain, and you can come in and you can hit that bid or you can hit that offer with money, with real money.
Yeah, with real money, right. I read your press release on this that you guys sent out last week on this Antigua situation. So if I understand this right, Antigua is trying to become its own digital securities clearinghouse in a way, or just kind of a network there. But this is available to anyone in the entire world then, right? Couldn't they trade on any part of the world on this?
Yeah, they absolutely can. Yeah, they absolutely can. And this is what's really unique in their approach, in that the ministry down there is also linking digital securities to the bank. So the national bank is part of the whole process. What you'll find in other jurisdictions is that a national bank is not part of the process, in that you have to come in and out of there with Ether or Bitcoin or Litecoin or one of these other altcoins as money. Well, we've solved for that. Or not only with our technology, but with the partnerships with the bank. It's an on-ramp for dollars and an off-ramp for dollars, integrated to the open order book system. It's the first of its kind.
Yeah, well, if Antigua can do this, then any country can do this then, right? They can create their own marketplace as well, right?
Yeah, well, Antigua is looking at, when his Prime Minister is talking about these things, he believes in order to have, a frictionless and a fiat banking-backed system for digital securities opens up a lot of things for them in the future, because they can set the standard for people to create these issuances, which can be property issues. In particular, countries like with a heavy tourism angle can create very nice hotels and spa and resorts. Well, they can finance those now using the blockchain. You and me, I can invest in Switzerland $1,000. You could put $500 into Antigua and watch them build this resort. 2 years' time it's up and running, and they have a rent roll, and they're paying a dividend. Well, then we get paid our dividend in fiat, and we still own a share of a resort. That whole world of investing in resorts and watching them grow and pay dividend is only in the realm of the super rich today. By democratizing it and creating it onto the blockchain, we can all take a fractional ownership of a really exciting tourist project in Antigua, in the next jurisdiction that buys up to this. We have plenty of countries coming to us, as you can imagine, to do this because it's so regulatory aligned. The regulators are really embracing it because this is a great first step for all of the regulators into the blockchain space.
Yeah, when you say that...
And plus when you're using actual currency to invest, to buy the tokens, and actual currency that you get back in a liquidity when you want to leave, you've eliminated all the mystery and that surrounds Bitcoin and all of these coins that nobody understands. You don't really get anything, but you've made it clear and concise and secure and easy, and oh my gosh, I can't even believe it.
Yeah. It really does allow you to just wire money to a legitimate broker-dealer. You have to be registered with the SEC or registered with the Finance and Corporate Governance Committee of Antigua. You can wire your money to a government agency. Your money will go there into what's called an omnibus account. It will sit there, doesn't go anywhere. It then appears on your app. And with that money in your app, you go and you buy securities. And you sell securities. And from inside your app, you say, please send the money back to the account from whence it came. So you can only send the money back to the same bank account from where you sent it in from. So you put in $5,000, you make a profit, you take out $6,000. Job done. It's done, this whole system. It's phenomenal because, as you mentioned, you saw a demo of it last week. It's set to change these things, and the anti-money laundering fears that the Financial Action Task Force have, announced, and OECD and various other international bodies, who are still a little bit reluctant, as you mentioned, Vicky, about Bitcoin and its use in illicit activities. They're still not there yet. I believe they will get there, but they're just not there yet in 2019. So why not create the ecosystem where the digital security is known as a well-known quantity because it's from a company issuing shares? That's something that's real and tangible. And now put that digital security alongside a currency that the regulator is willing to accept. And in this scenario, it's US dollars or whatever the national currency is. But you do it with a national bank.
Yeah, and plus, again, you've eliminated everybody's dirty fingers from touching your pie.
Absolutely.
It's also done in a secure and compliant environment as well, so that should give investors another level of confidence that they're not investing into some kind of an ICO scam that we saw, like you talked about earlier in the podcast. This is all secure, it's all SEC approved, etc. But let me just take one example that you mentioned before about a major, let's say somebody wants to build a major hotel resort complex. They can tokenize that deal on your platform, etc. And then at that point, they're basically selling fractions of that as tokens to investors. So now investors can go out and purchase these tokens, and they can sell them whenever they want as well. Is that right?
Absolutely. So you can actually sell them at different stages of the build. So you can imagine it's almost like an arbitrage play. If we're going to raise $50 million to build a resort in Antigua, for instance, so you start that, you get the planning permission, you have all the paperwork ready, it's all approved by a government agency, and the building commences, and it's going to take, let's say, 22 months. Then 3 months in, they go, you know what, we've had a great run at this, the weather's been great, supply chain has worked really well. It's not going to be 22 months before we're operational, it's actually going to be 18 months. Well, your security has just gone up in value, because that business is going to be operational 3 months ahead of schedule. So you can either sell at that price point because your security has gone up, or indeed they might be late and your security valuation might go down.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to wait that long. It's a market, pure and simple. It's a market.
That's great.
And it'll be a very efficient market.
I can see this being used in a whole different bunch of aspects and industries, but real estate in particular is got to be all over this, because before this, you pretty much have to sit on your investment until it was sold, to gain any kind of gains on that. But this is great, because whenever you need money or you want to get out of it or get into it, you can do it whenever you want on the secondary market, and you're creating your own secondary market with these tokenization deals.
Exactly.
Really,
and the beauty of building is that it's tangible, it's physical. So it's so easy for the builders themselves just to have a webcam, or a drone that flies over once a month. You can do all sorts of clever things to say we're building this great resort. Look how wonderful it is. Look how ecologically friendly we're doing our building work. All of these things add value. So the information on the build is really quite critical as well, because you're in the millennial space. Fractional ownership is for ordinary people, and they like to hear good stories, good news, positive news.
And then you can invest more because you've seen what your initial investment, how it worked. Now, okay, let me give you some more because this is so great.
Absolutely. If you think of the model from somebody like on the traditional analog security, like Robinhood, which is to just make trading simple, secure, and $50 here, $50 there. You don't have to be a millionaire to play in this space.
Exactly.
And it's money. It's civic insured if it's American, so it's actually insured dollars. So you're not putting them somewhere where some guy can run away with them. These are dollars in a bank account, in a U.S. bank account. So
and it's safe and it's secure, and you can watch it grow.
Yes.
You don't need to ask anybody, is everything okay? You can see it for yourself.
Absolutely.
That's just incredible.
Yeah, speaking of what you just mentioned, Vicky, to piggyback on what you just mentioned, Brian, can you explain how this whole solution integrates with a transfer agent? Because I think there's transfer agent custody as part of this as well. Is that right?
Yeah, there is. Under U.S. regulations, and in fact, custody of securities globally is fairly well modeled on the U.S. standard, believe it or not. On the U.S. side, when you issue securities, they always go on the primary issuance. The first time you make your shares, they go from being created by the CEO always into a transfer agent. That's just the law. Apple shares did it, Facebook shares did it, everybody's shares do it. They go to a U.S., which is an SEC registered transfer agent. So the transfer agent basically has a list of all the owners who gave money at the beginning, how many shares they now own. They have that on the first day that the offer closes. They know every single participant in the deal. Why do they know everybody in the deal? Well, if everybody needs to be paid a dividend, you have to know where to send the money. So you have to say, it's Ron who's from Las Vegas, XYZ, this is where you send the check, or this is where you wire the money. So that's why it's always been that way, and it's a good way to do it. And now we have a central party managing ownership for the issuer on his behalf, also referred to as a cap table. So basically a transfer agent manages your cap table. Now, why do we use a transfer agent as a blockchain? You could bypass one, you absolutely could. The trouble is, it comes in the word of custody, in that the issuer has a relationship, a legal relationship with a transfer agent. So therefore, the issuer says, I printed 4 million new shares. Well, the transfer agent has a record of that. And that record is binding. It's referred to as good control. But because it's binding, then your securities exist. They tangibly exist with a transfer agent. Now, they also have a very powerful role as a transfer agent to basically be able to say that these securities can't transfer within the first 12 months because of the rules governing Regulation D, you are locked in for 12 months. Regulation A is different, but Regulation D, you have to hold your securities for 12 months. How do you hold digital securities for 12 months if you give somebody the securities directly to their private key? Well, you can't, is the short answer. So you must give them to a trusted third party so that the issuer, again we're back down to issuer protection, so that the issuer doesn't get into trouble that his securities were traded within 1 year, because it's against the law for him to not make reasonable efforts to prevent their sale. So it's all about investor protection and issuer protection. So we deliberately create a role for a transfer agent in our cycle so that we are fully aligned and your shares, if you lose your private key after the issuance has occurred, you can go straight back to the transfer agent and say, hi, I'm the same Ron that invested 6 months ago. I'm sorry, but I lost my private key. Can I have my securities burned and recreated for a new key? That's their job. So they can do that. And if you want to leave securities to grandkids and all those things, or heaven forbid somebody dies, then when you die, your estate can actually go to a transfer agent and say, look, my grandfather left me these shares, common stock, digital common stock in his will. Can you please transfer them to me? Show me the documentation. This is the role of a transfer agent. It has been for 80 years in America. It's really powerful. So we bring them in. We bring them into the ecosystem. We don't want to exclude them because we think they add tremendous value.
Yeah, and that's, like you mentioned before, I heard on blockchain investing in general, if you lose your private key, you're in for a lot of problems. But it sounds like this makes it retrievable, so it's not that bad, right?
Yeah, it's painful. It's certainly painful because you've got a KYC again, right? You've got to do the KYC because your original KYC would be compared to your new KYC. Because if it's an imposter, the person reviewing your KYC will be able to tell quite quickly that, oh, that's not Ron. that's somebody pretending to be Ron, trying to trick the transfer agent. So that's not going to work. So it's no different today than any certificate of security. So they have a role and they have a legal responsibility to verify that your securities are not transferred illegally. And they're liable, they have insurance and all those things. So it's about investor protection. We all should be comfortable investing in digital securities. We really should be. And not doing it with our fingers crossed and our eyes squinted, going, oh, this is okay. We shouldn't have that. We should really want to back these companies and these issuers and these CEOs and their ideas, growing the American economy, fulfilling what they're trying to achieve in growing their businesses. We should be able to invest with them just as we would an analog security. And that's really what we're after.
No question. When you say that this is a one-stop shop, you're not kidding here. This seems to tackle every part of the whole process. And like I said earlier, we saw it demoed, and I think it's really amazing. It's really, really strong stuff. Vicky, I think anyone listening to this podcast and wants to get into tokenization from an issuer or investor perspective, they should want to see this demo as well, don't you think?
I absolutely think they should see it, and I think they need to go to World Token Market so they can look at it. And there's one last thing I'd like to say, Brian. Once in a blue moon, there comes a genius along who does something that changes the world. And I think that what you have accomplished with Horizon Globex and with your platform, you will change the world significantly because you've created the gold standard that everyone else will follow and say, oh, well, look, they did it. Let's just piggyback onto them, and now the whole world is in a better place. I truly congratulate you.
Well, thanks, and it is a team effort, Vicky. I'd love to be able to take credit for being able to program at the level some of these guys can program at. I don't think I've reached that level. But
oh, no, trust me, you have.
But these guys, it really is about all of us pulling in the same direction. The attorneys, the bankers, the transfer agents, the SEC, the Swiss regulator, everybody is participating in the growth of this. All regulators want to see this go forward. So I think it's really worthy to be able to offer our services around the world. And this, as we hope and allude to here, is this becomes the gold standard. Even if people kind of see the ideas of plagiarism, it means that the digital securities marketplace is set for an incredible future. Because once you put compliance and trust and value into this system, and you flush out all the crazy stuff that happened in 2017, you're now opening up really a capital formation landscape that's just set to change everything. Because you can raise $500,000 for this to improve your bicycle shop. You can raise $10 million to create a resort in somewhere where people have never heard of that can drive tourism. You can do all sorts of new things for new economies as well as the traditional economy. So I think we're on the right path, and I think having a software suite like this that's affordable for people to raise money And then, of course, because it's on an app, it's on a smartphone, it's very, very straightforward for people to get into. And as soon as you transfer your cash is insured. That's really the important thing here. Not send your money, fingers crossed, I better not lose my private key. Those custody concerns are gone in this approach. By using traditional methods. The traditional methods were
incredible.
Yep, and Brian, we're going to have links on the show notes to all the things that we talked about today, websites, etc. So people who are listening to this can go to the show notes and click on to get more information on everything that Brian's doing over at Horizon Globex, and of course the worldtokenmarket.com, as we mentioned again. Brian, I hope I hear some more press releases coming out similar to the Antigua one. That was a biggie. So once again, we got to congratulate you on that. And certainly, I want to thank you for taking the time out to join us and our audience. I know we're cutting into your dinner time there, but thank you so much for being a guest on the show again. We really appreciate this.
My pleasure, Vicky. My pleasure, Ron. Delighted to be able to come on and articulate what it is we're doing, and World Token Market hopefully is going to push us out there as well and get the message out.
Oh, we will. You can count on that, Brian. We will.
Yeah, exactly. And Vicky, I hope you're excited as I am to be a part of this and promote this system. And again, we wish everyone out there who's listening to this, want to get more information, go to World Token Market. You can request a demo on this whole thing that we've been talking about. And I think this is it for this podcast. Boy, this is great. It's a great way to spend some time in New York, that's for sure, although it's really, really hot and humid here. Vicky, I think I prefer the Vegas weather. But
well, yeah, it's hot but dry. You know what they say.
Okay, and everyone out there, you're listening to the Mappable USA podcast at mappableusa.com. You just go to that website, scroll down a little bit, you'll see all our syndication sources. We're all over the place. Pick the one that you like best so you never miss another Mappable episode like the one you heard today. You want to be a guest on the show perhaps? You have something you want to share with our audience like Brian did today? There's a guest tab on the website. Fill that out. We'll see what we can do about getting you on the show as well. So once again, this is Ron Costa thanking you for listening, and we will be at you next week with another Mappable USA podcast. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great week.